There we go.
He's live. You ready to break the ice, Aaron?
Get ready. Check it out. I'm wearing my Rebecca Donaldson shirt.
Oh, I love that.
There you
It
go.
Actually, it says Jesse's Girl, but it's close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough.
That is, well, I hate to say that I don't have my RAD shirt, so this is close enough. This is the same shirt I wore last night, for anybody who's wondering.
Well, see, that YouTube don't pay, man.
I literally pulled up in the driveway about 4 minutes ago. I was like, I got to pee, and I have to brush my teeth. And I'm so glad I did, because there was broccoli all in my teeth.
Now, Rob, what kind of theater do you go to that they serve broccoli?
Well, we went and ate dinner before the movie.
I was kidding.
So.
I was going to say.
No, because we used to have one.
Let me have my broccoli and cheese, please.
We had one that served high-end food, and it was a theater. But it's closed now. So.
All right. Everybody joining. So I'm curious to know, Rob, how many people were in your theater?
There was actually more than I expected. We had roughly 25-ish, I would say.
Okay.
What about yours?
I didn't count, but I just, when I left like halfway through to go to the bathroom, and then I came back and I just kind of gazed over, it was about 75% full. There was probably 50 or so people in there.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a lot more than I thought, honestly. But
I was the only one that didn't have the RAD shirt on. I seen a couple Crew Jones shirt.
Yeah.
But my buddy Chris, I knew he was going to be there. He's like the biggest RAD fan I know. So I told my wife, I was like, Chris will be there for sure. And sure enough, walked in. He's like right there on the front row. I was like, yeah, of course he is. Got the Crew Jones on. He's ready.
He was there early, probably.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. So, Aaron, I heard that you had to like rent a VHS copy from Blockbuster to watch or something.
Yeah. So the copy I've got came off eBay in like 2002 or something. I should go grab it. I meant to grab it, but it felt like somebody had ripped the VHS to DVD and then they printed it out on paper and then put the sleeve in like that. Yeah. It's so terrible. But
that's funny. That's back when you couldn't get it anywhere, right? It was literally not available anywhere.
Right. Yeah. That was the only way you were going to get it.
So in 1986, I think both of you guys are younger than me. So in 1986, Aaron, how old were you?
4.
Yeah. And Rob, you weren't.
5.
You were. Yeah. So just to put an experience around this for somebody a little older like myself, 1986 was like, it's hard to say because BMX like shot off so fast in the early 80s and then just kind of ramped up so quickly. But I will say without a doubt, this movie accelerated it even more. Unfortunately, 88, 89, things started kind of going down a little bit because it ramped up really, really big in the mid and late 80s. But this movie, as cheesy as it kind of is and all that, it really accelerated pretty much everything. Freestyle, racing, it was really iconic at the time. And I remember it as being a young lad watching it in the theater. And dude, we could not wait until it came out on VHS so we could watch it
over and over. Since
let me bail out for 1 second. I'm gonna come right back.
Okay. All right, yeah. Since doing side jag and watching movies kind of critically, I will say that this movie is not as bad as I thought, as I remember it being. There's actually some really good scenes in it. It tells a small story. We've watched way worse movies than this on side.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought about it too. You have to put it in the context of an 80s movie too. You can't put it in the context of a more recent movie.
Right.
And they did kind of cheesy stuff back then. That was just part of how they did the movies. But I did write down while I was waiting for you guys to come on. I'll wait for Aaron to come back, but I did write down some pros and cons that I want to go over and see if you, especially since you saw it in a theater, if you had any of the similar experiences that I had by watching it actually in the theater. But yeah,
while we wait for Aaron, do you want to kind of, for the people that haven't seen RAD, you want to kind of break it down? And you probably watched it more than most people.
Yeah, so this movie was was directed by Hal Needham, and he's the one that did Smokey and the Bandit. So back in the day, he's actually a stuntman himself. So I think they said it was one of his members of his crew saw some guys freestyling and thought that was the coolest thing they'd ever seen. They told him about it, and then it kind of accelerated into a movie. But anyway, the story of the movie is kind of like a Rocky theme for a kid, who's growing up in a small town, and he has a paper route, and he gets chased by the local cop, and him and all his buddies, they ride around and they deliver papers, but yet they race as they're delivering, and they do tricks as they're delivering the papers and everything. It's kind of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
the ironic part about it is these days people are like, what's a newspaper?
Yeah.
And not only that, what's a bicycle, right? They got freaking scooters with motors on them now, and they've got golf carts that they drive around everywhere. I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody gets exercise anymore. They're all like electronic.
Well,
Yeah.
and the whole plot of the movie is Crew Jones, local town hero kind of. He's just a cool kid. He's got a small crew, a little BMX crew, and they're coming to town with a big event by and I don't know how I didn't notice this before, but Duke totally gives me Boss Hoss vibes.
He is Boss Hog. You're right.
He is.
He
But
definitely is.
he comes in, he's the Mongoose owner, and he's sitting there like he's got his guys trying to make money. He's got a scheme going on, and they find out like, hey, this kid's got something. He is really good. And at that point, it's like, he's Boss Hog. We got to figure out how to ruin these Duke boys. And it's kind of fortuitous that his name is Duke.
Yeah.
Which-
Duke Best. Yep.
Yeah.
Duke Best.
Yeah. So I think that, yeah, I was getting strong. Like or remember the guy from Porky's?
Yeah.
Also like a mix between Boss Hog and him.
Yeah, that was a good synopsis, much better than mine. I fumbled around with it, but yeah. So the idea is the kid is like, a local kind of hero kid who's up and coming. They have this huge event that's coming into town. All these big wigs, pros that are coming in, and then the town's like, "Hey, can we let some of our local kids try?" And they're like, maybe we should do like a qualifying race." So they do a
Yeah.
qualifying race, which is the track for the qualifying. Do you guys not agree that was like
Dude,
the coolest track?
That track was nuts.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was like the race where they do through the city, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they're going through a greenway or something.
I didn't
Like
understand. Crew totally cheated on that last.
I
I don't know if you
know.
guys
Yeah.
caught that. Like the very first time I watched it, a long time ago, I was like, didn't he just cheat? And then watching it back today, I know he totally cheated because he bunny hopped over the little pink tape that
Yeah.
marked off the
Yes, 'cause
course.
he was
Like he
coming
bunny
on
hopped
the
over to
street.
come back in.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, dude, he
And
should have been
not only
DQ'd.
that, he
Yeah.
cut through the path. And
Yeah.
that one time he flipped and busted and knocked over like 5 people, but
Right.
he did that twice.
Well,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that was real. That Eddie Fiala really wrecked, and
Yeah.
that's why I didn't know that.
He
Until
knocked
I watched
himself
the-
out too, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, and he said he didn't know where he was.
where he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, since we gave the brief synopsis, I did have some pros and cons I want to go through real quick. And some of these, Aaron, you might not be able to compare with us because you didn't see it in the theater, but
Mhm.
either way, we can still talk about them. First thing I noticed right off the bat is this movie is out on Blu-ray now, and it was for a short period on 4K Blu-ray. The quality of the transfer looks really good to me. It
Yeah.
looks really good. What I noticed in the theater right off the bat, it was washed out.
did you notice?
And the AV sync was
Yeah.
off. And I thought it was my theater. That's why I was curious to know what Rob's
No,
experience was.
That was one of the main things I was going to bring up to you. It was like I've been watching Squid Games on Netflix, so there's a lot of dubbing in that, and it was totally like, yeah, this is like dubbed almost.
It was like enough milliseconds off where it was bothersome almost. I mean,
Yeah.
they'd like,
That's interesting.
boom. I mean, it would, it was like maybe half or maybe a tenth of a second, but it was enough where you could definitely tell when they started talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's enough that if you're an audio or video file and you watch a movie, I know you guys might do this too, if your speakers are not like portraying exactly what the person
Oh yeah.
is saying, then it drives me nuts, right?
Yeah, you can't watch the movie.
No, and
Yeah.
this one started off that way, so I knew right off the bat I'm gonna have to deal with this.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this is annoying. My wife didn't even notice. She'd never seen RAD, by the way. But I was like, I have to get past this in order to enjoy this movie in the theater.
That's funny.
So I bought the 4K. Well, not the 4K. I bought the high def version from Amazon, and then I did watch that back today because I wanted to try to make sure I remembered stuff,
Yeah.
because it's been a while, probably a couple of years since I've seen it, and I didn't notice any issues with that. But I do remember them talking about they had to go back and overdub Bill Jones' crew, not Bill Jones, but Bill Allen. He had to go back and overdub a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of wonder if that may have had anything to do with it. Like maybe it's more noticeable on the new version. I don't know.
I think they would have been better off using the original audio, in my opinion. And
but the video does look good.
I did not notice it on the Blu-ray at all. Everything looks synced up to me, so it was almost like it was. Weird. I don't know, because these days they do all digital formats in the theater, right? I mean, they obviously don't have a reel up there, but it's odd how it could be off that way without them being able to adjust it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you should have asked for the remote and said, "Let me adjust the lip sync." Where's the sensor for the remote on the screen?
Can I turn back the center channel a little bit and adjust the timing? The other thing we've already kind of talked about, we talked about the size of the theater and how many people. I said 3/4 full, which was actually more than I thought was going to be there.
Yeah.
But the really interesting part, and this is what I texted Rob about, is I'm surprised that more people didn't know there was the making of teaser part, which I didn't know was a teaser. I thought it was a true making of after the movie. And once the movie ended, people just started like lining up to go out. And I'm like, do y'all not know? Didn't you pay to come see this, to see like the making of? That's the whole reason. I mean, not the whole reason, but it's a good reason I wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And so there was only like 5 or 6 people left when they got to that part and played the making of.
That's surprising.
And,
same on my theater.
See, they did the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
But it makes sense. It's not like they shouldn't have known, because it's not one of those movies you just go and see. Oh, hey, Rad's playing. I was going to see this tonight. You know what I mean?
Like, that's the part.
That's what I was doing with intention.
I couldn't get it through my head. I'm like, these people knew enough that this movie was playing tonight. It's one showing. How do you not know that there's some extra features going on?
Oh, they did get me though. So I went ahead and bought my tickets through Fathom Events because I thought that's the way you had to do it. Through there, it was like $15 or $16 a seat. Well, it's only like $9 or $8 if you get it at the movie theater.
Yep.
I told my wife, I was like, I should just bought them here, but wow. Yeah.
Well, the weird thing is the Fathom took me to my local theater, and I just bought them through the theater, and it was like $9 a piece or something. So.
Oh yeah, I paid like $16 a piece or something like that.
Ooh, they broke your wallet.
They got him.
Dude. That hurts.
Yeah. So the other con I had was, we kind of mentioned it too, but the making of, I thought was going to be like the full 20 or 30 minute whatever making of. It was like 5, maybe 6 or 7 minutes total, and it was a teaser. And they're like, coming soon, making of, and I'm like, really? I came to see this, to see the making of, and they didn't show it and they cut it off. I was upset about that.
Well, my buddy Chris had walked out, and I seen him walking out. And I was like, yo, did you know that they were doing this making of at the end of it? He's like, I didn't know. So he turned back around and walked in. But then he texted me. He's like, oh, I already seen this. Because he went up to Bentonville. They had a movie fest. And they had showed that clip when he was up there. That's
just
when
the teaser part.
If you've seen the pictures, like Bill Allen was there. And he got pictures and all that with him. So
I got you. So he knew that it wasn't the full making of.
Yeah, but when I said that, he thought, oh well, maybe it's something I haven't seen.
Yeah, he double back.
Yeah, that was all my cons. The pros, we mentioned one of them already. That was an iconic movie for BMX. Came out in 1986, and it just really accelerated the sport, freestyle and BMX too. The intro and the ending, to me, is just, I could watch that all day.
Yeah.
The guys riding the ramps and riding the skate park. It's just like, and the ground tricks too. It's like, all that is so awesome. The race scenes are really cool, I thought. The qualifying one as well as the hell track. And of course the music. You know, Thunder in Your Heart.
Thunder in Your Heart, Break the Ice.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and Thunder in Your Heart, like I think it's the second verse. He goes, there's a, like when he says there's a fire, but his voice kind of like breaks a little bit and it's like just adds extra excitement. And whenever I hear it, I get like tingles, man. It's so awesome.
It pumped me up, man. When I left it there, I'm like, where's a bike? I need
I'm gonna take off on the street. Carver, did you ever notice how hard Crew, like the other guys are pedaling, but they're not pedaling hard. Crew's front tires come up every time he pedals, man. Every time his right foot hits forward, he's just cranking. He's gonna snap that chain. And he sucks at gate starts, let me tell you, because when you watch his starts, he's like he's the slowest one off the line. I'm like, how did you win?
He is too. Hey, I had a question. Like, if we were at Hell Track right now, would you guys drop in?
I drop in, yeah.
Right now,
yeah.
I would do. I'm gonna get hurt or whatever. It's like if I do, I do. If I don't,
all you gotta do is lean back, just go in at an angle, and just put your butt on the back seat, and then that way, I mean, you won't loop out because it's not steep enough, you know. So
right,
or at the bottom.
Can you imagine though? It seems so steep when you look at it. I've dropped in a lot on a lot of races, but nothing like that.
Well, somebody told me the wall was like, I don't know if this is right, but somebody told me it was like 30.
Wow.
30 feet tall.
Yes.
I don't know if that's right because they went to that when they rebuilt it in Texas a couple years back. The guy went to it and he was telling me about it. He was saying it was awesome and that he was too scared to drop in is what he told me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There were several people that busted pretty hard that day, I think, when on the remake. I don't know about the original. I think they might have done on that as well. But I also think, and somebody's going to correct me if I said this wrong, but in the making of after the movie, Hal Needham was talking about it and said it cost him $100,000 to make just that wall.
That's exactly what he
I
said.
thought they said before that they made it and they had to downgrade it a little bit because it was too intense. Wasn't it that way? Wasn't it like too steep or something?
I think the original?
I'm cheating. I'm looking right now, and it's not saying what it was, but it says filming was delayed because Hell Track starting ramp was so high that none of the riders wanted to go down it. The ramp was cut down to 25-foot tall version, and that BMX Plus magazine published an article about it. So, interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah. That's neat.
I mean, that must have been insane if none of those guys would go down it.
Dude, right? Because those dudes are freaking maniacs.
This is before Matt Hoffman. Unfortunately, he was probably like 8 or something. You know,
Hoffman
he
would
would
have
down it.
bunny hop backflipped into
rode
it.
Down it back,
or 900 no hander into it.
He would have done a fakie. He's like, "Oh, y'all are going down it forwards? Forget that."
Yeah.
Hoffman, I'll die for this. I don't care.
Yeah, no teeth, no shoulder.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
I have so many okay, what was your favorite jersey? I can start with mine. Out of all the jerseys that they were wearing in the race.
Oh, I'll have to go with the Hutch. Oh, the Skyway was cool.
The
Skyway one was cool.
Sick, dude. Yeah. That's the one I want. I mean, everybody's got the RAD, the Crew Jones. Who doesn't?
See, I don't like that one.
Yeah, I like the Skyway.
I like the factory ones. Yeah.
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 Even the Mongoose ones are all right, but I want the one that Lori Laughlin was wearing when she was riding a Simian Angel.
Oh,
with all the glitter. No, with all the glitter.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the zip up one.
Oh, yeah.
This is a total sidejack right here, but I don't remember this movie being as sexual.
Oh yeah,
as it actually is.
No, I did. Yeah,
especially the dance.
Yeah,
when the guys are like,
running his hand all the way down.
Yeah,
I was like, dude.
Yeah,
like this is no wonder my parents were like, yeah, you're not seeing this movie.
That's pretty funny. There's a bunch of stuff like that though. Like I let my daughter watch movies with me now that you grew up seeing it on TV and it was edited, and you're like, whoa, I don't remember that. And like, oh, I'm a terrible father, but oh well.
Well, when he takes her to the thing, he's like, what's it called? It's the ass slide.
Yeah. Let's go ass sliding.
Like
the funny thing too is, did you notice how his legs were like wrapped around her?
Oh yeah, I thought that was odd. I didn't understand that at all. It's like he was scared. Like you do this all the time. See, I think that might be it too, because he chickened out when his friends asked him to go the first time. He's like, "Oh, I don't have time for that. I go pick up my sister from school or whatever."
Then and the other thing is he runs away from her after the dance thing, and I'm like, what guy ever runs away from a fine girl like that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. He was intimidated.
Like, dude, I'm not. If Aunt Becky comes to me right now, I'm not running away.
No doubt. I mean, I'm running toward her.
She's got it going on.
Yeah, she does. She's fine. I don't care if she's in jail. I'll go get her out.
Right.
Well, Martha Stewart left. They had to keep her cell warm.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So the other thing I had other than music was obviously the pros. At the time, of course, Eddie Fiola and Martin Aparijo still ride today. They do like every Tuesday out in Cali. Was it Huntington Beach? I think is where they ride, but they still do it every day. And Eddie Fiola's got like frames that he still sells and stuff. R.L. Osborne, he's back into riding, and he rides the bigger bikes. He rides like the 26-inch. So he's got a channel on YouTube, and they started like a year and a half ago or something, him and his son, and he's re-released some of his old prints. His sister, Wendy Osborne, was the one that took a lot of the photos back then for the magazines, and their dad, Bob Osborne, was the editor-in-chief of BMX Action magazine, and also had a lot to do with the start of Freestyling magazine, I think. So their whole family was like, they were fully engaged into BMX and freestyle, but they're all kind of doing some things now, which is kind of neat. I mean, it's a good time to, rekindle some of the old things that you used to do. Pat Romano, he's the one that had the fixie bike with it would pedal forwards and backwards.
Oh yeah.
He's the one that did like the circus trick type stuff. He was there, and of course Ron Wilkerson and Mike Dominguez at the beginning, riding the ramps and stuff.
Right.
All that to me, I don't know how many times we watched over just the beginning and the end, because it just pump you up just to see those guys riding.
So
just to think
those were your favorite scenes, the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
What was
I
your
mean,
favorite,
it's pretty awesome
Aaron?
because the music. I don't know, but real fast, talking about the pros, y'all catch that Rick Moliterno was the dude who had the Sign My Cast.
Cast on his
And
leg.
if you're like mid school BMX, you definitely know who Rick Moliterno is because that's Standard Bikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't know. My favorite scene was, I don't know, man. Any scene with Rebecca, Aunt Becky in it.
Well, I always say that like the dance scene, the bike dance scene it's still dope. It's still
classic.
a dope scene. It's like even though that they're not doing this, and you could tell that. Is there a guy riding for her parts at some of them?
Yeah.
In fact, that's the one thing that you'll notice if you watch the Blu-ray or whatever. You can definitely tell it's Martin Aparijo, because you can see the quality much better now. I'm sure back then they knew that people can't really see faces and stuff, but even in the theater I could tell it was him. And the part where she has that dark wig on too, like when they're riding and he says, "What's this number
In the
one
playground.
stuff?" Yeah, that's him, or that's Eddie.
You could
either
tell.
Eddie or Martin.
Like she didn't have man shoulders like that.
Yeah.
But back then they had big pads, so it could have been her.
Right,
They
right.
had shoulder pads in the 80s. So.
Right.
Could have been. But I mean, overall it was fun. I hope that I'd like to see them do stuff like this when they re-release things in the theater and just add a little extra to it like they did. I really wish they would have done the whole making of though, because that's what I was expecting.
I was just happy to see it in theaters because I never got a chance. Like I said, it was only 5 when this came out, and I didn't see this movie till like 89. I think I was like 8 or 9 when I was starting to really get into BMX.
Yeah.
And at that point, I still had a Huffy, and it wasn't a Team Huffy. It was a piece of crap Huffy.
A Walmart Huffy.
Yeah, a Walmart Huffy. So, I was like, oh, dude, like I got to get something. And actually, that's where I got Redline from. I was like, oh, dude, that Redline bike looks so sick. This is something I wanted to ask you about there, because I didn't know. When I started riding was like 90, 89, 90, 91-ish. Mongoose was already on the decline. And in this movie, they're kind of like the big shots. And were they really like that in 86?
Yeah. So in my experience, Mongoose was a small step above Huffy. Like they were the ones that you saw everywhere, but they're not the ones everybody wanted. Like people wanted the red lines. They wanted the GTs.
BKs.
They wanted the Hutch. I mean, Hutch was like top of the line.
Oh, the Trick Star.
Barely can afford it, right, type stuff. So, Mongoose, it's interesting that they chose them and actually used the name of the company and everything.
They must
I bet you they paid.
I'm sure they did pay good for it.
Yeah.
Because that definitely should have been GT. Maybe even like I would have, even at that time, I think I would have picked Diamondback over Mongoose at that point.
Well, what about like Powerlight, Dono? You know, like you had
Right.
all those offshoots too. Claiborne, y'all remember Claiborne?
I don't
No,
remember
I don't remember
Claiborne.
So
Claiborne.
they were. I know they were around in like the mid '90s. They were a racing thing too.
Okay.
But yeah, there was Auburn. There was a company called Auburn
Yes, I
that
do
made
remember
frames. I
Auburn.
think I don't know if they make
Yep.
completes, but yeah, there was all sorts of little. And then it kind of died back again. But even Mongoose was, man. When I came into it in like the mid '90s, Mongoose was nothing, dude. And then
Yeah,
they
they
had Tim
weren't.
Fuzzy Hall with them, but that was it. Yeah, look at
No,
that
you
power
you
light.
mentioned the Power Light, dude. I totally forgot about Power Light until I seen this movie again. I was like, oh, dude,
Yeah,
it was either I wanted an Elf or a Power Light back in the day, but I forgot about
Elf.
Power Light.
I forgot about Elf.
Dude, Elf is
Yeah,
still. I want an Elf today, but me and Derek got on a little side jag and looked them up. Those dudes are not cheap
I bet
nowadays.
they're not because they were already. I mean, they weren't mass produced like GT stuff was, you know.
Right.
Right.
So, and what about like the PK Rippers and all that kind of stuff? I
Oh
bet those
yeah.
aren't cheap these days either. I haven't even
No,
bothered trying to look.
Yeah,
they're super dope.
they re-released most of those as larger bikes. Like I think they still might make a 20-inch PK Ripper, but you know they call them Big Ripper and Fat Ripper and all that stuff
Yeah.
now. But they kind of started the big BMX scene like 5 or 6 years ago with the
Yeah.
wheelie bikes. I'm sure you've seen all that stuff that they're doing now.
Yeah.
But they'll have those ride outs like in California. They'll have like 1,000 or more people.
That
that will,
Chromoli's strong.
Yeah, but
boy,
it's not the frame, it's the forks that you had to worry about, man. So
Yeah,
like the
no.
first scene where Crew is like delivering papers and he rides off of something over a fence and he just drops to flat. That's like a 5-foot drop. And the first thing I thought, I mean, no matter
It's
how
fine,
many
bro.
times I've seen it, I'm like, his forks would have just, if they didn't snap, they'd have just bent.
Yeah.
You know, like his bottom of his head too would have touched the ground.
And
Like,
that's why no one
forks weren't made
ran
like that.
mags in races because mags would snap
They just blow
all
up.
the time.
Yeah.
They'd explode.
So
We used to jump our bikes off of a loading dock for a truck,
yeah,
and we used to jump them and flatland them. And dude, I've blown up so many. And I wasn't fat back then. I was actually skinny back then. Still blew out a bunch of mags.
I can't
didn't
tell
have
you the number of
Skyways, though.
forks that I've bent. I bent so many forks when I first started. You
Now,
know,
Aaron, when you first started, did they still have the 1-inch headset? Or
yeah,
did
they had the
you
threaded.
Okay,
They were all
yeah.
threaded when I first started. And what we would do is, you guys probably did it too, is remember scooters? So
Yeah.
scooters all had the same type of headset. So if you blew out your headset on your bike, then you could replace it with like something from a scooter. So you would get the parts from the scooter and replace it
Yeah.
that way. And then they had threaded threadless, which was a combo. And then they went full threadless, and then it was like all 1 1/8. You know,
Yeah.
I don't even know what
Yeah.
they're up to now. But
It's the same. It's a 1 1/8. But
Well,
the stuff
so-
today is tough, man. It's
oh,
like,
I'm about to do a flex. Check it out.
oh, check
Oh,
it
I seen
out.
that. I seen the
This is-
pictures, dude.
This is so we're
That's
talking about
sick.
re-releases, right? So I wanted a Hoffman Taj forever, and this is a Hoffman re-release of the Hoffman Taj, but I got Matt to sign it. So a flex on
Oh,
all
That
those.
is.
dude.
Oh, hold on. We got to go full screen on this.
Yeah, full screen them. That's so
Look
dope.
at
dude.
that.
Yeah, that's dope.
That is
That's so
dope.
dope.
That's
You need
sweet.
another one to ride.
So the cool thing about it is I'm sending it to Taj. He gave me an address to ship it to, and he's going to sign it because it's his signature frame. So I just haven't sent it yet. So when that happens, I'm just going to hang it up on this wall behind me.
Yeah, you can't ride that.
I'm
But
psyched.
you
I
need
wanted
another
one
one
for
to
so
ride.
long.
You
No,
need
so-
another one to ride, man.
Oh, I know it, man. I know it. But like the story, I don't know if you guys may have seen when I posted on Facebook, but just for those who are interested, the story was that when they came out with those, I wanted one in baby blue so bad. So I saved up money all year, got my Christmas money. My folks drove me up to Dan's Comp. I think it's Mount Joliet in Indiana. And we went to the store. They didn't have it. This guy talked me into another bike, and the bike sucked. I wound up breaking it. Never got a chance at the Taj again because they quit making them when Taj went to Terrible One, started making his own company stuff. So yeah, anyway, I got that recently. I'm stoked. I just put a note on there. I was like, hey, if it's cool, can Matt sign this? And then Matt's the dude who emailed me, hey, I got your note. Yeah, I'll sign it and get it out to you in a couple of days. I was like, what?
Oh,
Sweet.
dude.
Pinch myself.
You need to print off that email,
email?
and then frame it by the.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the funny thing is, like, my friend Seth, who was the best man at my wedding, he's been riding for Hoffman since he was 16. And he still, to this day, is riding for Hoffman Bike. So I took a screenshot of the email and I sent it to Seth. I was like, dude. And he's like, that's awesome, man. So
Heck yeah, that is
that's
awesome.
super
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it's funny
Condor.
because I guess
Yeah.
amongst all this, some of the things ESPN's been showing, they showed Dennis McCoy the other day at the age of 51 or 52 when he was still doing X Games, and he did a 900,
gosh.
clean 900 on a half pipe, and he was probably 6 or 7 feet above the top of the ramp. It was just so
That dude's-
beautiful. I'm like, dude, the guy's over 50 years old and still ripping.
Not
Yeah.
today, Tron. Not today.
Amps. What's an amp?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Where it's all
Amplifiers
ramps today.
that powered the movie theater that you watched this movie in. So,
Right.
so I straight up did homework, guys. Look, I nerded out.
All right.
I took notes.
Of course. I mean,
Awesome.
would you be Aaron if you didn't
I mean,
do that?
well, no, would I remember anything if I didn't do that? That's the thing. So I thought it was funny that his friends were Luke and Becky, and then so Becky was on Full House. It's not the same girl, but I just thought that was kind of neat. Let's see. I said best soundtrack ever. I don't think that it is, but it's got to be up there, man. With like Rocky IV and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Rick Moliterno. What I say? Oh, so this is really interesting. And I was watching it. They say the Helltrack, the winner gets $100,000 and the Corvette.
Yeah.
So I went to see what that would be worth today. So $100,000 in 1986, it's $250,000 today. And then the Corvette C4 convertible back then was $32,000, so it would be $80,000 today.
Wow.
So he'd have gotten $330,000 worth of stuff, I guess.
That's
Can you
crazy.
imagine? Yeah.
That's like winning a GTR, and a bundle of cash.
That's
$250,000.
crazy. And then I didn't know this, but the dude who played Bart Taylor was in the Olympics. He was a gymnast.
Yes, Bart Connor.
Yeah, I didn't. So I mean, that's
I forget. I keep forgetting the age difference in all of us. But he was in the '84 Olympics.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Gymnast.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But that's cool. Could you imagine $250,000 for Helltrack?
Yeah, dude. Like, this is so unimaginable. That the prizes would be that great. And this is another thing I want to mention. Like Bart and his crew, you weren't that freaking cool. Even in 1986, if you're a pro BMX rider, you're not that cool, dude.
Right.
You're not coming into town.
You have to remember they like to embellish things for movies, right?
Like Mongoose.
Because the other thing is when they were
exactly.
doing the tricks of the dancing, they were spinning the handlebars continuously, and you notice they had the cable that went straight down. There's no way that would work.
Yeah,
it would just not. Sorry.
Pots mod, bro.
Yeah. They didn't
Or
have
the
a
brakes would
gyro
tighten
or
up and they'd
anything.
fall over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were on some. I guess I'll tell this in the making of it. But they were on some kind of a spinning device. That when the actual actors were there and the handlebars were spinning, they had their hands up in the air. It's like, how could they even do that anyway? But
Right.
they were on like a little carousel or something, or Lazy Susan, extra large one. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, super cheesy, but it made for good TV. The funny thing about that song is most of the time when I think about it or I hear it and think about it, I remember me and my friends coming back from Louisville skate park. They just built it in, I don't know, maybe like 2000 or so, 2001. And it was one of those during the summer. So we would not ride until late at night. So we drove all the way up to Louisville skate park at like 8:00 at night, rode till sunup, and then left Louisville. And to keep us awake on the drive home, we had the RAD soundtrack like on tape. And we just listened to that over and over. We just kept listening to Thunder in Your Heart and Send Me an Angel. So when I hear those songs, I think about like sitting cramped in the back of my friend's Ford Ranger, the little crew cab one or whatever, and just cram back in there. I don't know. It's good memories though.
It's good times.
Dude.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's just cool seeing all the
go.
bikes, and didn't you think it was weird that Duke wasn't saying something to Becky about like, hey, I'm trying to sabotage this dude, but you're like helping him?
Right.
Yeah. It's like, why are you wearing the RAD stuff? Aren't you sponsored by Mongoose?
Right.
Yeah.
So she was like totally separate. Like,
So Rob, let me ask you this because I forgot to mention it in my pros earlier. Did the audience clap when the movie ended?
No.
Because they totally did in our theater. Really? Everybody except for me and the guy I went with were, yay! I was like, whoa, you guys hadn't seen this before? I thought it was odd, but I don't know. Maybe it's just a lot of fanboys. But yeah, I mean, it was funny that they did it, and it was kind of cool. But I didn't expect it. Totally didn't expect it.
I guess the Halloween movie came out tonight as well.
Did it?
It released early. Oh. Well, it's supposed to do tomorrow, but here it released early because everybody was there. I was like, "There's no way everyone's coming to see Rad."
Rob's like, "Oops, man, I should have bought my ticket early."
I was trying to get me a Coke Zero before we went in, and I was standing in line, and my wife's like, "Hey, they started." I said, "There's no preview." She's like, "No." I was like, "It's fine. I know what happens."
Yeah, they started right at 7 at mine too, right on the dot, because we stood in line to get some drinks and stuff, but there was 2 lines, and it was like 35 people. I'm like, are they gonna have more? I guess nobody wants to work. So anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
it was neat seeing it in the theater, but the experience for me, I don't know. I don't really miss going to the theater because just the whole overall experience of a theater, and all of us are kind of like audio video geeks, so
Yeah.
we have decent sound systems at home, and
Right.
it's just like I don't know. And
No,
that
I
whole lip
have a
sync thing, it
terrible
just
sound
drove me
system.
crazy. I'm like, how can I mean, you have one job. Well, you actually have more than one, but you have to make sure the AV are synced. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
but if Rob's was not synced, then it'll be interesting to see what people post on Facebook to see if it was like across the board, some engineer screwed up and got
It's
some
something.
mismatch with the AV, because I was thinking surely it's just my theater that the AV sync is off.
Right.
And Rob said his was. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they must have pulled it from LimeWire or something. And
Bear share.
They pulled
Some
in they pulled a Nintendo. Like when they done the NES Classic, they done a lot of like they were straight rips that
Yep.
people ripped off, and it's like, dude, like come on, you're not even trying.
Dude. Yeah, I didn't see it in the theater, obviously, but like I said, I watched it back today because I was like, I got to refresh my brain. I watched it with my daughter. It was about 2 years ago, and I was telling her this morning, "Hey, do you want to watch this with me?" And but you've already seen it. And she's like, "Well, I don't remember it." So I was like, "Well, we'll watch it again together." But she likes it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what surprised me watching it again, kind of critically. I was like, it's not a terrible movie. It's not a good movie,
Yeah.
but it's not a terrible movie, and it's
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well,
And
like,
it's-
so how much of it is not terrible because it's nostalgic for us? Like if you went into it
Yeah.
with fresh eyes, you might be like, this is lame,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like,
Well, my wife never seen it
mhm.
at all,
What did
and
she
she
think?
liked it. She
She
liked
She
did?
it.
liked it.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
She also didn't notice the AV sync issues.
So there you
Oh.
go.
So, but that might just be like a us thing, something that I don't know if it's going to get everybody like it.
You
did
start
us.
twitching. You're like, I
Yeah, it's
can't.
like, dude,
I can't.
ah.
Like, I can't take
would-
this.
I would love to hear like what the Scotty Kramers, the people that
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that were big recently, because
Right.
it's funny if you watch his channel on YouTube, he goes back occasionally and they'll pull out like the 101 freestyle tricks, and him and his brother will try some of the tricks, and some of the guys that work at the bike shop will try them. And they did
Yeah.
try the Miami Hopper.
Yeah, I saw that.
You see that?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's funny because they're like, oh, and then they did the one where they showed the guy do the reverse rubber ride, where he stood up on the grips,
Yeah.
and he was backwards, and they're like,
Right.
this is impossible. Nobody can. And they showed the guy do it. They're like, how is that even possible? I'm like, you guys are doing double backflips, and you're talking about somebody standing on the handlebars. I mean, really?
Right.
But it would be interesting to get their perspective. Somebody like that who they're so above and beyond, with the tricks that they do now. And then to see that, would it be real cheesy to them? Like, oh, that's not that cool. Or would it, I don't know. We'll have to see what the response is, because I'm really curious to know what they think.
You know what you should do? Dead serious. You should actually reach out to him and see if he'd be willing to come on your channel and talk about it.
Yeah,
You'd
that
be
would
surprised. I mean, people, a lot of the times I've gotten a lot of yeses just by simply asking that I thought I'd get definite no's.
Yeah.
So it's worth a shot, especially because you got a big channel. It's not like you're saying like, hey, come over here and boost up my viewers, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's worth a shot just to ask. You never
It
know. I
is.
thought about shooting that John Farnham, the Thunder in Your Heart, guy.
Yeah.
I found him on Facebook and I was like, how can I get a hold of this guy? Well, it turns out he lives in Australia. And I thought, well, by the time we did this, even if I could get the dude to say yes, there's no way, because he's so
Right.
far ahead in time. But yeah, you
Well,
never know.
If
Well,
you
hasn't
could-
Bob Harrow been commenting or liking your?
Yeah, I've been tagging him on some of my pictures of my bikes I've been building, and he's like been liking them. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's Bob Harrow.
That's awesome, man.
Shell shock.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
But yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it was
rad.
awesome. It was just cool to see all the bikes, and of course, crews riding a mongoose. Because what else?
So that brings up another point. You talk about all the bikes. And we talked about Crew's bike, what he rode, or we didn't talk about that. But what was y'all's favorite bike of the movie? Like you don't have to say who the actor was, but which bike did you like the best out of the whole movie? I know what mine is. So if y'all want me to go first, I can say it. I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
So at the
was someone
beginning-
riding a Trick Star.
That was Miranda that was riding the pink trick. No, it was a
no,
trick
that's
star. It was
Hollywood.
Hollywood Mike Miranda. It was a pro star, so it was a pink pro
Yeah.
star. But my favorite was at the beginning and at the end. Mostly at the beginning was Ron Wilkerson had the blue Haro Sport with the gray wheels, the gray mags. That's my favorite. I'll just stop there. But another quick tidbit: the yellow Redline that R.L. Osborne was riding at the beginning and the end, that bike recently sold, and the guy who bought it got in touch with RL and showed him pictures of it and got all the details and said, I want to make sure that this is truly your bike from that movie before I buy it. Because he ended up paying $25,000, I think, to get the bike.
Jeez.
You know what? I expected a lot larger price.
Based on what they are now, it's probably worth a lot more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that one at the time, of course, Rob, you talked about Redline. When I was coming up, Redline was usually the higher end, and the freestyle Redlines, they never did full bikes. You always had to buy the frame and fork and always assemble it, with handlebars and everything. And they were so pricey, never could get one. But it'd be hard to choose between the two, but I think I'll still go with the Haro Sport, the blue one. That's always been my favorite. I love that color.
Mine's the pink Pro Star. I mean, it was just stood out from everybody else, and it was just, I think it was dope.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with the Haro as well. I love the blue and the white. I just thought that was awesome. That contrast to me is cool.
And Haro didn't have a lot of representation in this movie.
No, they didn't, which is interesting.
Right. I mean, they were huge.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a Mongoose thing.
It's got to be.
Don't talk about these dudes.
It makes you wonder how that came to be. Did Mongoose, whose idea was this? Did Mongoose say, hey, I've got a movie? Kind of remember The Wizard? Remember that? The Nintendo movie?
That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, yeah. It was like an advertisement for Nintendo back then,
Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear that story because now GT is in there and, Dino's in there. Hutch.
Dine. You said
Hutch.
Dine. You were thinking audio.
Yeah, I was. I still have an audio brain, man. I can't.
Can't shut it off.
Dine audio.
That's right.
And there was some brands,
they showed off quite a few brands.
Yeah,
they showed off the Powerlite. They showed off the the Skyway. I mean, the guy had the Skyway jersey and everything on. And
right. Yeah, when they went through all the riders that were going to ride Hell Track, and they announced them, and they were wearing the factory vest and the helmets, so they kind of did it right there, which also kind of makes you wonder, well, maybe it wasn't a Mongoose thing, but I don't know. Maybe to give it some legitimacy.
They definitely highlighted Mongoose a whole lot.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure out the dude, the Duke guy. So he was with the FAB, which is I don't know, bicycle association of some sort, right? Kind of like you had the ABA and the MLB or whatever, or MBL. Anyway, was he actually Mongoose or was he the FAB or whatever it was?
They said he was the president of Mongoose.
Yes.
When he grabbed the microphone when the guy was talking.
Yeah.
They introduced him as the president of Mongoose in addition to those other
So
things.
I'm like, that wouldn't fly today.
No, hell no.
That's a conflict of interest.
Okay, so just so I understand, and the many times I've seen the movie, and sometimes I gloss over things. So the dude that comes near the end to watch the race, who's obviously some kind of a retailer, okay?
Yeah.
Who's ready to put the products on the shelf and sell them. Why? The deal is only going to be made if Bart wins.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only way that the deal is going to go through.
I took it to
so they've got millions of dollars of product.
Waiting to go. I took the
and they're not going to sell it and he gets second place. I mean, come on.
Yeah, right. I assumed the way I viewed it, that guy was kind of like the purchaser for a Walmart or something.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll carry your product in our stores if this thing happens. But since it didn't.
And the other dude, so he was going to get cut in on that deal. That was the whole thing, right? The dude that flips Duke off.
Right.
Yeah.
So then he got a conscience apparently and said, "Hey, I'm not going to let this local kid get the shaft," and he bailed him out, but with $27,000 worth of product. But then he also lost out on whatever he donated to the whole cause.
Right.
So they don't really get deep into that, but He just
Yeah,
all
he
of a
probably
sudden
lost like
turns on the
100
Duke.
grand or something
I know.
because he built the track. He paid $20,000 worth of so he's out.
Well,
He's out.
he did say that, now I've got all these T-shirts and I'm going to make good money off of them when I sell them. But I'm like, dude, even if you doubled them, you're still not going to make that much
Right.
money, you know?
Yeah, that's. I mean, when you analyze stuff like that, it's those things that just
Yeah,
don't make sense
you
from a
can't
business
do it.
perspective. That
Right.
guy would
Right.
have been. No, he probably wouldn't.
That's
have
when
done
you got to
that,
be
really.
in the suspension of disbelief mode.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta. But I like the part where they're like, "What about the local boys?" And then he goes over, whispers on me. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do a qualifying round." He's like, "We're gonna do." He moused him 20,000.
Yeah.
And he's like 10,000.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right.
He goes 10. Even his voice starts cracking during that. 10.
He didn't want to say that.
Right.
That's
Yeah, so
pretty funny.
we did have some other people comment the RL22, which they I know I may keep up with this more than you guys do, but they are doing a re-release of the RL22, which was in 86 or so. Redline tried to get RL, but then he backed out. It was really an odd situation. He made a long post about it saying that he didn't feel comfortable or something with the people involved. It was so odd because everybody thought, since he kind of came back and started getting into the BMX stuff again and sort of started kind of reliving the history part, that other people like Dennis McCoy, the like you said, the Hoffman, the ones when they did the signature series, but now they're doing the ones from the 80s. Like they're doing Josh White right now. The 29-inch GT World Tour is a Josh White signature bike. So Josh White was a big ramp guy back in the mid to late 80s, half pipe, quarter pipe kind of dude. But it was interesting that they didn't get him on the Redline gig, but they've pre-sold frame and fork. I think it was frame and fork and handlebars, and they were like $15.99 was the price.
Lord.
And it was like buy it now and it'll be available maybe next year. And these people are prepaying for these things like over a year in advance.
Wow. That's crazy.
And they sold out within like a day because they put them up for pre-order. And I'm like, the prices right now are so high. I mean, Aaron, have you looked lately on eBay for like a GT Performer or something?
No.
They're like $3,000 plus for a full bike.
That's ridiculous. Why? Why? That's like video games, man. It's crazy. People are crazy.
Is it? And that's the thing. I mean, the bubble's got to burst eventually for this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to get to the point, A, where people can't afford what the things are being sold at, or B, it's just going to get to the part where the stuff gets so popular that they're going to make so much of the repop stuff that people are just going to be okay with the repop. Because I'm like, I don't really care about having the exact bike in 1987 that I had. Like if they make a newer version of it, that's cool. But
well, and I don't want one that's beat up. Like I kept for years, I'm talking like 10 plus years, I looked on eBay for this Hoffman Taj, so when I saw they were remaking it, I was like, oh, I'm all in. But everyone on eBay that I would find, people would want $300-$400 for just the frame, and it was just beat up. I'm like, I'm not paying for that. I want something I can hang up on my wall to remember. I don't want something that somebody else shredded. If it was going to be beat up, I want to be the one to have beat it up. If it was
yours, right, then that would be something you could relive, but not somebody else's.
Listen, y'all, I might pull the trigger on one of these. It's a 29-inch. It's an Elf.
It's sold out, man. You can't pull the trigger anymore.
I know, but if they trust me, this is on the Google alerts when it comes back.
He's got his name in the notify me section.
And then when I've been to Forks, I'm gonna be like, God, Van Hoy.
Well, you're not going to bend to Forks. You're not going to be jumping triples
just
or anything.
Just bend them back, man. Just push them back.
You know how strong those new bikes are with those big headsets and stuff, man? They're just incredibly strong. As long as it's chromoly and not, high tensile steel, then you're okay.
I think it's chromoly. So
I would think
should we mention like our first, like our dream bike? So you seen that's like my dream bike. If I could get one now, but actually you could change the colors up and it would be a different color. But my first like real bike was a pink GT Performer. And I was a BMXer then. I wasn't really like a freestyler, but I bought it from a girl for $50 who was getting a new bike. So I was like, yo, I'm jumping this thing. I don't care. Like, it's got pegs. We left the stock pegs on it. Or they weren't the stock pegs because they weren't flipped down. They were just the screw on where they're always pegs.
Right.
But yeah, what's your dream bike, Derek? And what was your first real bike?
So the dream bike that I never could afford, it never was even possible that I could afford it or get one, was the Hutch Trickstar. Back in the day, the frame and fork for the Hutch Trickstar was like $500, even back in the 80s, which if Aaron does his little calculation, that's like probably 2,500 nowadays.
That's crazy.
So it was obscenely expensive, but the bikes were just so cool. And they had a color called Metal Flake Blue, and it was like a blue that had some flakes in it, and it just popped. And I always wanted one of those with some chrome 48 spoke high pressure whatever wheels.
Yeah.
That was kind of my dream. But the first bike I got, like Bmx Bike, was a Kuwahara. It was a Kuwahara Nova, and my brother and I both got one for Christmas in 1983. I got the one that was more of the kind of the race theme with the straight seat post, and he got the more of the freestyle theme that had a laid back seat post. And from then on, like the next few years, we just kind of hooked up our own bikes, and then till I moved to Haro. But yeah, the first one was a Kuwahara, and the more you hear people talk about it now, people really flip out about Kuwaharas because ET. Was big. It was the Kuwahara thing, and I've got that original poster too.
Oh, that's
I looked
awesome.
it up to see if it was like worth a lot of money. Apparently, they've reprinted it, but I don't know if the originals are worth a lot. But I've got an original ET poster with the
I
white.
guarantee you it is.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, even
those
if it's
bikes were
crinkled up.
exotic. But like in my area, Kuwaharas were not. You just didn't find them. The bike shops didn't find them. This one, even when I lived in California, growing up, that's when I still lived in California, and they just weren't.
And honestly, I think the only reason we got those is because they were affordable. Like it was I think they were $199 for the full bike, and they were full chromoly.
Yeah.
So, and they were made in Taiwan even at that time, or Japan. Either I know there's a Japanese company, but I'm not sure where the frame was made. But at that time, if you wanted like a GT or a Haro or something like that,
it's like $300.
Yeah, it was like $100 more. So I think the reason we got that one was because the bike shop probably said, for the money, this is probably the best one, for your kids.
Yeah.
So that's what we
in the 80s, $100 difference is a lot of money.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's a
so Aaron, what was your first, and then what's your dream bike?
My first BMX bike was a Redline RL 440. Chrome. Wow. Yeah. I remember my parents bought it for me from a little mom and pop place called Mccoy's Bikes, which has been closed for decades now. But what's funny about it is they, like everybody has a living room that you grew up and nobody ever went into, right? Like it's just sectioned off and close the doors and you never go to the living room. So they stuck the bike in the living room thinking that I wouldn't see it. And I saw it. So they were gone one day and I rode it around the living room and I left tire prints on the carpet. So that's how they knew that I found it. So that was my first real BMX bike. But like going through, like I said, I wanted this Taj bike forever. Yeah. So I finally was able to get that. But when my friend riding for Hoffman, I would always get his old frames. So they would send him like a new frame every 6 months. So here comes like a Hoffman, dirty 130, I get that frame or whatever else they were coming out with. But I had so again, I'm like mid school BMX. So I had, do you guys remember how when it was cool if you had the heaviest bike? Did y'all ever go through that? Like you would have like Mr. Tuffy tire liner, and then we would actually have we would have a tire. We cut off the sidewall, put it inside the tire, then the Tuffy tire liner, then the Thornproof tubes. You remember the Thornproof tubes? I mean, you could hit a curve going 150 miles an hour and you wouldn't pop those tires. But we went from that, like you were proud to have like a 40 or 50 pound bike to by the time I was ending it, your frames were sub 5 pounds when they were initially 8, 9, 10 pounds.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah. I had some good stuff growing up or going through BMX, so I can't really complain about what I got.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the no brake thing?
I rode no brakes.
Did you?
I started around 2001. Yeah. I remember taking them off, and it took me a little bit to get used to. But the thing about it was full commitment. Like there's a set of stairs in Portland that we went to shoot a video for, and I just charged it, man, and there's no turning back. It was like a 15 or 16 stair, and I 360'd it, man, and it was sick. But I think like if I'd had brakes, I probably would have never done it because I'd have just kept skirting my way out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I rode no brakes too.
yeah,
And it was mostly a peer pressure thing
yeah.
because they were like, yo, like, you got brakes on your red line? I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, yeah. I
Gotta
was
take the
like,
brakes
well,
off, homie.
yeah, I guess. All right. Yeah. This is what we're doing.
I don't know. It's
Did
just
you, did you actually race, Derek? Did you ever
yeah,
race
yeah,
BMX?
yeah. So I think I told the story before, but we had a BMX track in my backyard. So we had a manual starting gate, which would hold, I think, 4 bikes. We had a berm, a step up, and then we had doubles, and then we had another big berm that came back around, and another set of doubles, and that was the end. My parents' yard wasn't huge; it was only a 3/4 acre lot, but it was a very square lot. So we made it so that it was
Yeah,
perfect for the yard, but turns out just the way BMX kind of evolved in the early 80s, like it went from racing to the whole freestyle thing kind of kicked on in the like 82, 83. And so we started getting interested in that. So we started doing the ground tricks. Then my brother was always into doing the next thing. So he built the ramps, and we had quarter pipes, we had half pipes, we had kick turn ramps, we had all that stuff. So the track just kind of didn't get used. We just stopped using it. But I did race. We had a local track in Raleigh called Lions Park. Unfortunately, and I don't know how it is today, but back then it was very close to a neighborhood where the people who lived in that neighborhood didn't like the fact that people were coming to this track. And literally, we go out there some days and the kids will be throwing rocks at us. You could hear ting, ting, hitting your
Wow.
spokes. So it was not the best side of town kind of thing, but it was the only track in the area. So I raced there a few times. I didn't race like every Sunday type thing or every Saturday. It wasn't that type. But we had the track in our yard, and all the kids in the neighborhood, this is before you had to worry about getting sued, if somebody got hurt in your yard.
Mhm.
And we just had the cool place. So everybody would come over to my house, and we would just ride, the track. So that's what we did.
Yeah. What, Aaron, were you just a freestyler?
No, I never raced. I started off as dirt jumping with some friends
Yeah.
who raced. I went to the track with them and just pedaled around, but I never actually raced. But it started off as dirt jumping, and then ramps like half pipes, quarter pipes in friends' backyards, and then street. We got a little bit older. 7th or 8th grade, I started like riding my bike into town. We'd go street riding, and that's just where I stayed at.
Yeah. I actually always started off racing, and that track still exists today. It's Metro
that's cool.
BMX. I don't remember if it was called this back in the day,
Yeah.
but yeah, they had a decent gate, and you can't really see it here. They don't have any good pictures, but you had you had a nice little berm here and stuff. So this is the same exact way the track was whenever I raced it.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, my local track is still there, and the last time I went, they swapped it where the start was versus the end. And
Yeah.
what I noticed was, like, back in the day, you would go down a pretty big hill, you have a nice sized jump, then you had a berm, and you went around the berm, had another nice sized jump, but then you had a good bit of it that was uphill. Like you had to pedal, 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 pedal. So people were
Right.
getting worn out. So what they did is they flipped it around, start on the other end. So almost all of it's downhill now. But I went there 10 or 15 years ago and took my Canon. That's back when I got my DSLR, and I got me a nice long lens, a 80 to 200, 2.8, and I was out there taking pictures. And I don't know, sometimes it's kind of weird to go out there because there's a lot of kids that race,
Mhm. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was taking pictures, but I wanted to, like, I used to want to do action photography. That was my big thing. So I wanted to get some shots, and I had a blast, and it was just so fun to see all the people racing. But
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
thought about, I was like, man, it would be so fun for me to get back out there, but I'd kill myself.
You got it. Like now, this track was a little janky back in the day. So, have you ever had the gate stall on you?
And like flip over the bars because I've seen people do that.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
never
Dude,
happened to
it
me.
happens. We had like, I think you could line 10 bikes up on their gate, and it happened to me twice at least. I've seen it happen way more times. Dude, basically everybody, you just flip straight up,
Just
roll all the way down the hill.
Yeah, I had a
It's
friend
like
separate his shoulder doing that. Like the light turned green or made the sound or whatever, and then
yeah,
he just cranked and he cranked so hard he just hucked himself over the gate because it didn't drop, and he
yeah.
separated his collarbone or separated his shoulder. So
Jeez.
crazy,
Yeah,
man.
I had see. The guy that got me into BMX was Jeremy. I can't remember his last name, but he was like the cool kid in the neighborhood, and I was kind of the dude who was hanging out with him. And he rode Redline, so I had to get a Redline. I started off with the GT, so I had the money for. Talked my mom into get me a Redline. I got a Redline 360, and once I done that, dude, it was literally off to the races. And this dude was a maniac. So I was just doing whatever I could to try to be as cool with him or cool enough to hang out. He's like,
That
I
is-
only ride bear traps. And I was like, well, I can't get the
Oh
bear traps.
God.
So they made generic ones called bear claws.
Yes.
I rode the bear claws.
What? So who made? Was it? What were the ones that Odyssey had? Were they Black Widows or was that the Cranks? I think that was the Cranks, the 3-piece
That
Cranks.
was
Or was somebody made pedals? Odyssey made some pedals when I first started that were like, dude, if you slipped a pedal,
Were they the
you
ones that had
you
the
were done.
multiple layers of?
Yes,
Yeah.
they had 3 different layers, and they were all
Yeah.
like teeth, like U-shaped going up, and I don't know,
Wow.
they were maybe like 2 millimeters wide at the
oh
top.
those were the thin ones, weren't they? They were pretty thin pedals, weren't they?
I
Or were they
think so,
square?
but they were.
The ones.
I don't
kinda-
remember if they were square or not, but I just remember like I want to say they were almost like U-shaped a little bit, but
Okay.
they had like
Ah.
they had an outer layer and an inner layer and maybe like an inner layer. But dude, I just remember slipping pedals on those. I'm not kidding, I've still got scars on my shins from
Yeah.
those.
So that
hurt.
brings up a good point. Are those the pedals you used, or which ones did you mainly use when you rode?
So like that was what I used when I started, but after a while they started getting into like caged pedals that were like a couple pins in them instead of multiple teeth, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So and they would grip well, but if you slipped a pedal on those, you might catch a couple pins, but you weren't going to catch multiple teeth.
yeah.
The bear traps are notorious, man.
What did you ride? What kind of pedals
Triple
did you use,
traps.
Rob?
At the bear claws.
Oh, you did.
I rode the bear claws because like I had to be cool. Like Jeremy was cool. He rode the bear traps.
Yeah.
I had the bear claws, so it was close enough.
Yeah, for racing, I had the back then. Again, the Hutch pedals were always the one everybody wanted because they were so expensive. But Suntour made some called the XC2s, which were kind of a generic version of the Hutch, and they were kind of the same shape. They were like you said, kind of the U shape.
Yeah.
I used those when I did the racing stuff, but when I switched over to freestyle, I used the graphite pedals, the MKS graphites. There you go.
Those,
Oh yeah, yeah.
somebody said it's Odyssey triple traps. That's what I had back in the day. Those things would murder you.
God,
Yeah,
those were a
that's
little
abuse
after
waiting.
my time, I think. But
Yeah.
those were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Anyway.
MKS ones that I'm talking about when we started freestyling, those are still, yeah, look at that. Love in the air.
Love.
Those are still available today. And what I liked about the MKS graphite ones, you can ride them barefooted or you can ride them with shoes and they gripped either way. So
Wow.
didn't hurt your feet barefooted.
Well, I remember. So when I got my 360, it was like $329 or something like that when my mom bought it. And of course, I wanted Redline Flight cranks.
Oh
And
yeah.
at that time, they were $200.
They were almost that much, right? Yeah, they were
Yeah,
200.
and my mom's like, no. She's like, I'm not paying. I paid $300 for a bicycle. You're gonna ride this bicycle. I'm not paying almost the same amount for Redline Flight cranks. They're like, it don't matter. Does the ones you have, do they turn it? And I was like, yeah, but it's you don't
They're bent.
yeah, you don't understand like
Bent like
things.
this.
So
Yeah, when you
I-
pedal, it's like this. Instead of like this, it's like this. Like one's pointed up. Yeah.
Hey, she wasn't having it. So
Yeah.
I did get Redline Flight cranks used from Jeremy, the same guy. He got the V2s. The V2s come out. He was the kid who had everything. Everything. Like he was big into Sony too. So he had a Sony TV, Sony stereo, Sony Walkman, Sony, all this stuff. But he got the V2s. I was like, hey man, like
Yeah.
let me get
Hand-me-downs.
these. I can give you my lunch money every week for how long it takes to pay for them. I think I get my $100 for them. So it was like 10 weeks or something, or maybe
Wow.
longer than that. I think maybe I only got $5 a week for lunch money, but yeah,
Yeah, that's probably right.
I gave it to him every single week. I just didn't eat lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
well,
crazy.
the other thing I thought about this, and I don't know if either of you guys used Did you both? And when you bought stuff, did you use a local shop or did you order
Local.
stuff like through a mail order?
Yeah, mine was half and half. Like, so Dan's was the big mail order. There was Dan's, there was Albies, Trend, and Staff BMX. Those were the main ones that I remember. But when I first started, there was, like I said, that Mike's Bikes. And then I wound up working for a BMX skate park for a few years. So, and then I would order stuff on my own and get the employee hookup. What?
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
man.
that's like I always wanted to work in a cardio shop so I could get the employee
No
discount.
doubt.
The Alpine flip out. That's what I always wanted.
Oh yeah, trying to steal the Alpine.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up is because when I went to buy my Haro Sport in '87, I went to the local shop and they wanted like $100 more than what I could order it from online. Or I say online through the catalog or through
mail
the
order.
back of the magazine. Yeah. So this is back when a lot of these people listening may not remember this or may not have ever experienced it, but when you would call and place an order for something like this, you would do what's called COD.
Oh yeah,
cash on delivery. So the UPS guy would show up with your bike and stick his hand out.
Yeah.
And you had to have exact change and all that stuff, and they got the exact amount, which it still blows my mind that they would actually take money from people and transfer it back and forth. But yeah, the Haro Sport that I got was not the team model because, like what Rob just said, it had the team model had the 3-piece cranks and it had the extra whatever to it. But the one I got had 1 piece. But it was, I think it was $319.99 online, but at the bike shop locally, it was like over $400. So that was my first experience.
And how old were you when you
need
when
to
you were
shop
doing
around?
that?
14.
Oh yeah, see, you were way more advanced because when I was doing this, like mail order was not even in a question. I was lucky enough to get my mom to drive me to a bike shop to begin with because there wasn't one where we lived in California that I could ride to. So I would have to get a ride there, and a lot of times we'd have like a friend's parent drop us off, and we'd just hang out there.
Yeah.
You know,
You were one of those kids. Man,
Yeah,
I used to hate you kids. I would babysit you kids all the time. I'm like, oh my God, when this
Get
kid's
off my
parents coming
lawn.
back?
oh, dude,
right.
and if we could get a parent with a truck to take us with our bikes,
Yeah.
oh, dude. Because we had public transit. There was city buses everywhere. You couldn't bring your bike in there. So that's kind of how I got into rollerblading because you could take your rollerblades on the bus. So
You said rollerblading?
I
All
know.
right.
I know.
No,
We used to ride that bus and we'd go downtown in the parking garages and we couldn't take our BMX. BMX was always number one. We were never going to skateboard. That wasn't an option, mainly because I couldn't skateboard, but we hated those guys. I was like, yeah, they got these rollerblades. So I got a pair of rollerblade brand rollerblades and upgraded the bearings and done all this. But yeah, we used to go down the parking garage and the security guards would chase us all the way down on their little golf cart. So
would you have like super baggy jeans, like pulled down past your butt?
No,
like that was the rollerblade look
before then.
Oh, okay, because that was the rollerblade look when I was doing my thing. The rollerbladers come up there and we would always tease each other. But what's really funny is I'm really good friends with a couple of those guys today.
Yeah. Well, you know that's crazy because like when you ride BMX, we always wore tight pants. Because you don't want your pants getting caught on the
remember on RAD he was wearing the handkerchief around his, and then he would pull it down to keep his chain from sucking his pant leg and greasing it all up. I remember trying everything. I used to pull the sock up over my pant leg and duct tape around it. I would do all sorts of stuff.
It's amazing how easily that would happen too.
Dude, it was easy. But that's like we were wearing tight jeans before tight jeans were cool because it's like we ride this BMX like it's a hazard. Jinko jeans aren't going to happen.
I remember trying to ride in Jinko jeans and just shredding those. I would roll them up like so far. I remember like a couple pairs I had dedicated riding jeans to where the left leg was all the way down, but the right leg was like cut like 4 inches off of the bottom. It just looks stupid. I remember like talking to my friends about this. Like I used to wear in the summertime because it was a cool thing to do. I would wear an S&M toboggan, S&M Bikes toboggan in the summer in Alabama. And I'm like, how did I not die? Like,
I don't know. Kids wear hoodies nowadays. In the middle of it. I live in Arkansas and they're freaking 18, 19. They still wear hoodies. It's
didn't you mention that your son was doing that?
Oh yeah. Dude. He don't care. Like it's fun. It's form over function.
Yeah,
100%
I
of the
remember
time.
the
He's
same
like,
way, man. I was the same way. But that's being a teenager, I think.
yeah, he's
So
gonna look cool no matter
no
what the
matter
temperature
what,
is
no matter
outside.
how hard he's
Oh,
sweating.
I just
Yeah.
thought of something. I'm gonna put you guys on mute because I'm gonna grab something real quick. You just made me think of something. I'll be right back.
All right,
All
you're
right.
gonna show us something cool. But yeah, man, I remember that. So what were the big skate brands like? What were you wearing?
So
know-
we try to stay away from the skateboard stuff, but
Right.
as you know, we wanted to ride to have the BMX stuff. So like we would order the shirts. You know,
Right.
do you remember No Fear clothing?
Oh yeah, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
Fear
we-
was yeah.
Yeah, No Fear, and then Jinko came along for like a year or two,
Yeah.
and I would have like the kangaroo Jinkos with like the 40-inch, the 50-inch waist or the
Yeah.
bottom. It was ridiculous. And
I
but
had
then
the
like
No
the next
Fear.
year,
I had
oh
the
yeah,
No
the No Fear was
Fear, and
awesome.
then I was a Vans guy, so I always wore Vans, even though they were skateboarding.
Yeah,
I even kind of wore Etnies. I liked
Yeah.
Etnies
I wore
a little
Etnies.
bit.
They had a
And-
lot of BMX signature Etnies shoes.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did, and that's why I liked them. And then they ended up going to Payless or whatever. And
Yeah, I don't know.
after that,
I don't even know what they're doing. And I guess they're
Yeah.
still around, but
I also liked what's it called, Big Johnson.
I remember
It was
that.
like overalls and stuff. I liked
I
those.
vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you're taking me back.
All right,
Wait,
so I
what do you
couldn't
got?
find the jersey, but I think you guys will get a kick out of this.
Oh wow.
So,
Oh,
these are
dude.
some of my old Haro pants, race pants, and you see it's still got the Kuwahara,
That's awesome.
Dang.
and it's got Vans up here.
Will those fit you now?
Yeah, you still wearing
Yeah,
those?
these are. I think that's the only cool. Well, it says Haro down here, so
Dang,
shout out
those
to
are
Bob
pretty
Haro.
clean, dude.
Yeah. You didn't wreck much.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, well, they're busted up a little bit right here, but
Yeah.
not horribly bad.
You
I
should
think
see
these
my
are like
pants.
24-inch waist or something, so I'm not going to be fitting in these anytime soon.
That was back in the day, man.
TNC
Yeah.
surfwear. I remember
Gosh.
that, dude. That was cool.
I held on to
24.
those throughout the years. I had some other stuff, and I got a jersey that matches it somewhere
Well,
too, but I couldn't.
You know,
find
one
it.
thing
cool.
I did notice, Crew Jones, like seeing Derek's old bike videos, like you kind of favor Crew Jones just in your old pictures. If you look at him closely and look at the movie again, when you're riding your young pictures, you kind of favor him a little bit.
Huh?
There you go.
If you look,
Could have been a movie star.
could have been.
Doubt it.
Crew Jones.
Oh, I
is
could have
rad.
done a movie with Lori Loughlin.
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah.
Don't
Wow.
even. I would have murdered you and taken your spot.
Could have been a jailbird.
She's such a babe.
Yeah.
Gosh.
She is. She is
So easy.
definitely.
So my question for you guys is, did you happen to see anybody when you went to the movies tonight that maybe you haven't seen in a while? I'm just,
Yeah.
like, was there any connections made? Like, oh, dude.
Oh yeah. I see my buddy Chris McMurtry, which Derek knows Chris, and he's a cardio guy as well. He worked at the cardio shop. Funny story. Back in the day, I was wanting to compete 0 to 100, or 0 to 100, I think it was, or 0 to 50 maybe. Anyways, because I had 225 Orion HCCAs. So my goal was, I'm going to do this. I'm going to murder this right here. Chris shows up not even 2 months after I save up for that system. So I'm saving up. I'm going to kill this power class here. He shows up not even 2 months later with Orion Concept, 2 of them, 2 or 3. And I was like, matter of fact, he's the reason why I bought a Crossfire 1000D after that, because I was like, I can't compete with that. So I'm just going to have to move to a totally different class. And that was my first Class D amp ever. But I seen him in the movie theater. He's like the biggest RAD fan I know. And
he's a big rat because he's got that group he started a while back, right? Didn't he start that group? I think he did.
I think so. Yeah.
Or he's at least an administrator.
And he went up there and met Bill Allen in person. He went to the Hell Track opening in Texas.
That's awesome.
So he's a true super fan.
Yep.
Yeah, I would have loved to do that.
He's rebuilding Crew Jones' bike right now, piece by
wow.
piece.
Wow.
So, and I got to check that last time I was
That's the
over
question
there.
that the guy I was with asked me, and I wasn't 100% sure. Is Crew Jones' bike, was it a Murray or what kind of bike was it?
It was a Mongoose.
I think it was a Mongoose.
It was a Mongoose.
I think it
okay.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Mongoose paid, obviously. Like we need to get to
Yeah,
the
but he
bottom
had
of it.
no stickers on his bike.
Right. Because he
Right.
was the
Like-
unsponsored guy. He was he was like against
that's
the
why.
what's the
Okay,
word
so
of
we pulled the
anti-establishment or
stickers off.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like, I don't ride for anybody. I'm independent.
Yeah, that's what Chris. He's in chat now. He said he had 8 XTR 12s in
Jeez.
a Mazda B. You know, the B trucks.
Oh wow.
So he was freaking loud. It was like 155 decibels or better, if I remember correctly. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I love Orion, but I got to move out of this class. We're not going to
Gotta
do
step
this.
off.
Yeah.
Chris,
That's funny.
tell us the
didn't
model
see-
of the bike and everything because he's rebuilding. I
Yeah,
got to see it last
Chris,
time I was over there.
tell us about the bike. We definitely like to hear that about what it is and what you're doing. But I didn't see anybody that I knew, but I didn't really look or stick around. Like I said, 75% of the people left at the credits before
Yeah.
it got to the little after part or the making of or documentary, whatever you want to call it. So at the very end, there was a few people that stood outside the theater and they had the shirts on and stuff, but I didn't recognize anybody.
Do people recognize you? Like, hey, you're that YouTube guy. You don't ever get that?
Very, very rarely does that happen.
Do you get it? I got it. I was
No.
eating Mexican, and like sometimes, if we're at a meet or at where, of course, like people recognize me there at a base meet or whatever. But
Right.
we were eating Mexican, and dude comes out. He's like, "You're High Five Vegan." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, I watched the channel. I was like, "Oh, this is weird. This is the first time it ever happened." Then we went to Lone Star Steakhouse, not even a month ago, and someone recognized me out front of there. And I was like, well, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's
don't
cool.
like,
It is
yeah,
cool, yeah.
it's
It is
weird that
cool,
you
I
know
mean-
who I am.
Yeah. But
So-
I mean, it makes sense that they do.
Yeah, I don't put myself on screen all that much. So
That's true.
Maybe it's the voice.
Except for
they
every week on
recognize.
12 Talk.
Well,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
hardly anybody watches this, so I don't know
Yeah.
why. This is the cool stuff.
He gets
Pride of
recognized.
Arkansas.
There you go.
There you go.
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Well, so the reason I was asking, because I was just wondering, if people that have shared interests might have gone to this and also seen you guys from the car audio side. But like to go along with that, it's kind of funny. I was going to do a YouTube short on this, but I just never did because I thought some people might take me too seriously. I went to Publix a few weeks ago, and it was on a Sunday, and it was the same day I had just published a video. And so that was kind of fresh in my mind. And I was at the meat counter, and this lady comes up and, she's ordered some stuff, and she mentions her wife or her daughter works at the hospital. So she's getting meat for her daughter to take the load off of her when she gets home, blah, blah, blah. And I say, hey, my wife works at that hospital too. And we're kind of chatting. And then she's like, are you Aaron? And I was like, yeah, I am. So in my mind, for whatever reason, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so this is an older lady, like above 50. I'm like, oh my gosh, she recognizes me from the channel. And not only that, she's way outside of my demographics. So like I'm reaching older, like middle-aged ladies are watching my stuff. That's cool. And then she's like, I know your dad. I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah. I had the same type of situation. I went to FedEx drop a package off, and I'm always shipping stuff. And the lady, she's an older lady, not old, but she's probably in her 50s ish. And she's like, "Oh, you're High Five Vegan." I was like, "Man, this is like you're into car audio." I'm just thinking this in my head. I'm not saying it.
Right.
And so it feels like a long pound of time passed. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm Matt's stepmom," which is my daughter's boyfriend. I was like, "Oh, here I am." I'm like,
I thought you were going to say that she read the label and said, "Oh yeah,
No,
it says it right here."
I do too. Yeah. But that's even better.
And then I got recognized at the local barbecue joint, not for being High Five Vega, but for being a regular customer.
Oh, well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah,
Could be worse. I'd like to tell my wife and my kid just to mess with them. I'm like, well, you're with a celebrity. Like we went to Disney last week, and I said, now don't be surprised if people stop me and want their picture and my autograph, and they just roll their eyes. I'm like, I'm kidding, right?
That's what I love about you. You have I have the same dry sense of humor, and either people get it or they don't. But,
right? Yeah.
Because I'll be watching Aaron's video, and then he'll be talking very seriously, and all of a sudden he switches and he's got a purple wig on, but he's still talking very seriously.
I think that's one of the best parts about being on YouTube is like you can be in your super niche and you can be, something that your group really likes or whatever, your group follows and you feel like you got a following, but then when you're out in public, it's not like it's not in Hollywood, so you're not
Right.
followed by the paparazzi. So you get the benefits of being, popular in your certain area, but then you don't have the drawbacks of being like a public figure type thing.
Because
So
like
that's why I think it's really cool.
nobody in a 5-mile radius like knows who you are in the real
Yeah,
world, or a 20-mile
exactly.
radius, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're like
Unless
YouTube
unless you're
famous.
going to a meet or something like that, then
Yeah. Now we went to that meet, that one that you came to. What was that? Near Dallas, Frisco? Yeah. And there was a guy who was like, "Oh, you're Aaron. You mind if I get my picture with you?" And I was like, I got to be honest. On one hand, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And on the other hand, I was like, I feel really weird right now. but
Right.
at the same time, like I put myself out there. So if people watch my stuff, then I hope that they would come up and talk to me. And, because I'm just, the only difference between me and anybody else is that I make a video and put it on YouTube. And that's pretty much it. So
that's how it is.
That's the part. It's definitely uncomfortable anytime somebody does it, but I try not to make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I try to make them feel excited about it, because oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, sure, we'll do a picture. But then it's in the back of my mind, it's the same way you just said. It's like, well, I'm just like you. I'm just somebody that puts the video out.
Right.
But
right.
I mean, it's cool. I don't ever want anybody to either not feel comfortable coming up and talking with me, or thinking that I won't do a picture with them or whatever, because I will. But it's just for us, it's like,
we're coming at it from like the angle of like, you want a picture of me?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I guess. My wife don't even want a picture of me, but okay, cool.
Exactly. But I think some people don't get like it. Like, yeah, you're just weird on the internet. Like, no, dude, I'm weird in real life.
Well,
I'm even weirder in real life.
I was gonna say this is the dirty little secret that a lot of people don't know about YouTubers, and I don't want to generalize YouTubers, but I will say that a good majority of those that you see who have personalities online, they just seem like they're a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are introverted. I know I'm between an introvert and extrovert, but I'm more leaning toward an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely the kind of guy that can like do my own thing and not have to be around people and all that. So sometimes you come across and people think, oh, you got
like you're a
50
douchebag
people over there on the weekend every day, every weekend, and you're just doing all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm just really just like doing my videos. Me.
Yeah, right.
So, what do you guys think? EXO is like on fire as he is and everything. He is just as down to earth and cool and just like us, like razor focused. And I don't know, it comes across like, he would always have all these people around him and there's always be so much stuff going on. But a lot of us are just kind of stuck in our own little path. What do y'all think?
I'm you know how I am, Derek. Like, I'm a bull in a china shop, dude. I'm just going. I'm gonna. I have this thing, and I've had it for a long time, where I suffer from more confidence than I should have. So I have way more confidence than I should have in anything. I see something like, yeah, I could do that. Why couldn't I do that? And it definitely has bit me a lot of times. But also, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it gets me in situations where, this turned out all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, it's funny that you say that, because I know a couple guys I'm friends with that have, over 100,000 subscribers. And I've talked with them, and they're, like in real life, they'll say that they're more introverted. And I find that interesting because I'm not that way. Like, I'm very outgoing. I never meet a stranger for the most part. I don't have a problem making conversation with anybody, but at the same time, I'm cool if I'm just sitting there by myself, not doing anything. Like, I'm comfortable with it, and matter of fact, we talked about this in one of those little Facebook groups the other day where we were talking about scripting, like reading off a script or a teleprompter versus, because I try to do that in my first few videos and it's so unnatural for me that I would much rather just hit the live button and just go. And like, I'm just having a conversation, because it's more intuitive for me that way. Like, even at work, when I have to give a technical presentation, I'm much better off. My boss comes up to me and says, I need you to go in 5 minutes versus I'm going to give you a week to prepare. Like, because then I overthink it. I stress about it, so I don't know. I just find that interesting that, you do run into people that have a big following. They seem like they're outgoing people. And when you when you meet them in person or something, they're a lot more subdued or a lot more maybe introverted or something like that. But that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
people like us for what we're doing. They watch, and if they don't watch. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, you can be introverted and still have enthusiasm in what you do, and I think that's what comes across, right? Because if you're
Right.
really engaging and you're really excited about what you're working on, whatever video content you do, then it comes across, and that's what pulls people in. So that makes
Right.
makes them think that, oh, he's like that about everything, and no, not me, not really.
Yeah.
No. You could
My
go
wife
either
says that
way.
I'm like the least impressed person that she knows. like she could show you whatever, and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. But
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh man, that's awesome.
I'm the
They
same
never
way, though.
choose me for Price is Right.
Yeah,
So.
I'm the same way. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat.
Yeah. I'm bad about that. Like if it's not something I'm excited about, I have to, especially with my wife's excited. I don't want to be, because I drag her to see freaking RAD on Thursday.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
don't want to be. I don't want to be a jerk about stuff she's into, but sometimes I am. I try to do better. So
Yeah, I'm bad about like kind of, I guess, zoning out. Like she'll be talking to me, and I'm like, hold on,
yeah.
what were you saying? My bad. But yeah, she doesn't even watch my channel, which is fine. Like
Yeah, same way.
I mean, and I'm cool with that. I used to give her grief. I'm like, you don't even watch my channel. She's like, I'll go like it. I'll give it a thumbs up. I'm like, oh, that'll work. That's better than nothing.
So I told Rob this story, Aaron. I don't think I told you, but so my wife doesn't watch my channel either. Like zero, zilch, nothing. She hears sometimes my intro because I do it on the iPad and I'm working on it. But so one of her friends that lives in the western part of North Carolina, her husband teaches in a high school, and he teaches agriculture or whatever. But anyway, so her friend asked my wife, what is it that I do on YouTube? So my wife types out this paragraph of explaining what I did with an amp dyno and a blah, 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 and went down the whole list. And I looked at it and read it. And the only thing she got wrong was she said something about he uses the Fosgate punch something, amp dyno or something. So she kind of added that in. But the rest of it, I was like, maybe she does watch my stuff.
She does care.
Because she definitely got it pretty close. I was like, wow, for you not to watch my channel, you kind of know what I do. She said, yeah, but you talk about. I said, oh yeah, I guess maybe that's the truth.
Well, that's the thing about women; they actually pay attention to what you're
doing.
Definitely,
and they do care.
Yeah,
they do care. Like, I mean, all of our wives are supportive of what we do, because if they weren't supportive, then let's be real, we wouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like mine's cool. Like I'll be testing a speaker, and she said the other day, she's like, I gotten to where I know if I go out the door to the garage and I hear whoop whoop, then I got to be quiet. And I'm like, cool. So she knows, like, I don't have to say anything anymore.
Oh yeah, I lock down Sundays. Like if she needs me to do something, like Saturdays are her day. I'm hanging out with her, doing whatever we need to do. Sundays, that's basically work. I'm working in here. I'm filming for the next week. I'm editing. I'm doing whatever I got to do on Sundays. So
yeah, no, I get it. And so, I mean, I don't know how much time you guys want to spend. I'm good for as long as I need to be, but I'll ask you guys, since y'all are fellow YouTubers, do y'all deal with like the dad guilt? I mean, I know your kids are older, but like for me, my daughter is going to be 11 soon, and on the weekends my wife is at work, so it's just me and her flying solo. And I'm like, that's the times that I need to get stuff done. Like this weekend, I've got so much stuff that I've got to get done. I'm already stressing, and then I'm like, I got to hang out with her too. Like it's that whole balance, and YouTube isn't making me. I mean, I'm making a few bucks a day.
Right.
So it's not like it's worth it. I mean, really, if I wanted to make money, I'd just go to Lowe's and get an 8 hour a week job and make more money. But yeah, so there's that balance too. So I just wondered, like, you guys run into that,
Well, Rob, I'll let you go first because you got older kids.
Yeah. So when I started my channel was 2015. And my kids were actually younger then, and there was a lot of sport. Like we were doing travel volleyball, JO volleyball, and that took up so much time. And that's why I didn't post very much at the beginning. And I really didn't get serious about my channel until the kids were older.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that, I just simply didn't have the time to do both. Because I'm very poor at time management in that way. I'm a unitasker. I cannot multitask.
Yeah.
So I have to do one task, focus on it. And it kind of took them growing up for me to actually be able to focus on this stuff, because up until then it was really just a hobby where I do a video every month, once a month or once every other month, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have that all the time, Aaron. What you're talking about, because I do have younger. Well, my one daughter is about the same as yours, and I've got an older daughter too. But yeah, it's a real struggle because I've got a pretty stressful day job, and then I usually spend most of my weekend doing the video content. And I've been doing both for so long, like 10 years now or so. And typically people that, do YouTube will get a lot more subscribers in a short amount of time, or they'll burn out or whatever in the duration that I've been doing it. So for me, it's like trying to find that balance. I'm trying to get to the point where I can get into a groove and get more people engaged, but then the same thing is, like you just said, I do feel the guilt, and the guilt is I'm not doing this full time. I do have a family. My kids are not always going to be around.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate the YouTube people that watch on YouTube and subscribe and all that, but I can always do that in the future, and I can always have that. But right now is a special time, and I don't like to miss things. And I feel bad. Like sometimes my wife and daughters will go off while I'm working on a video, and I'm like, I probably should have gone with them.
Yeah.
Or what if they have a car wreck or something?
Right.
I'm not there, or just, what if they're having fun and I'm not there? I don't want to feel like the dad that's just a shadow.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's
tough,
really strong. It's really, it's powerful that you said that, and we don't really talk about that much, but it's absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why I set aside, like, even now that I have free time, I set aside time, like Saturday, I'm not doing YouTube stuff. Unless, like, I'm going to a show this Saturday, Waking the Dead in Searcy, Arkansas. But my wife's going with me. So I set aside time to spend with her to make sure that I have that. Because if I don't, you can just work. You could work every day if you wanted to after work and do it. Or is this Matt Hoffman?
Oh, it's Matt Hoffman.
He bought your tuning computer off of DLI.
Oh, nice. I wonder which one that was. I sold a small one, probably a little netbook one that I used to use. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I was kind of going back to that though. I deal with that too. It's just it's tough to keep that balance, and I call it dad guilt. But my kid's cool. Like, she's also good enough to. Like, she's got an iPad, and she don't just sit and watch movies. Like, she'll do creative things. She does like videos and stuff. So I'm like, well, she can kind of do that. And then we'll spend, a couple hours apart, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday. And while I'm trying to get other stuff done. But then it's like so I saw, there's a picture I posted the other day. I saw it somewhere. It was about ADHD. It was like, you go from one extreme to the other where you're super bored. And then the other extreme is like, you're stressed out from all the things that you took on when you were bored. So it's like you're either one of the two, and that's perfectly me, man. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. I've got like 5 or 6 different videos that I've got to create, and there really is no timeline. It's not like somebody says you got to get it done, because this isn't my job. But in the back of my mind, it's like it's just piling up. It's like a car wreck, and all the suckers are just hitting each other. So,
I know. I think everybody's like that. It's like you put such pressure on yourself. Like, we don't have to do this.
I know
we don't have to have a video out.
I could shut my channel down right now, and it wouldn't make a difference to me. You know what I mean? Like, people might say, "Oh, I missed the content," but after a while, they get used to it and they move on. But but like I do enjoy it, and it is important to have a hobby, because what are you going to do when you get older? Like, that's the other thing is so.
Well,
and if we weren't doing this, we're the type of people that we'd be doing something else.
I'd be tearing apart my car every year or every other week like I used to do. So this is actually costing me less money than what it would have if I were still messing with my car every week like I used to do.
It's nice once you get to the point where it kind of helps paying for itself, and it's like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah, to me, it's as long as it can help me like sustain my hobby and it doesn't cost me money, then that's cool. So I'm happy with that. But I don't know, man. I see some of these people out there that are, acting like they're millionaires off of YouTube, and I'm like, how? Because we make like what, 2 cents per view, Like Derek is probably the richest one of us all, and he's still working a day job. So
Right. way. I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's hard out there for a pimp.
It is. Hard
Yeah, I
out
mean
here for a
it's
pimp.
it's unrealistic. It's like anything else. People think that just because you
Yeah.
have a certain number of subscribers that you're living the high life and
Right.
big baller and everything, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
not so
it's more
much.
like I could buy that elf right now for $1,000
Yeah,
and not have to take it out of the house money.
right,
It's
Yeah.
like, well, I made this money doing YouTube, so I can blow it on dumb stuff if I want.
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
That is the
Yeah.
benefit of it. And like
Yeah.
Aaron said, you buy your stuff that you need for testing. You can buy
Right.
whatever cables and everything that you need, and it's just like that's part of the expense of what I make. And so that's the part, like Rob said, when I first started, when I got to the point where I could buy the stuff and have it paid for the videos that I made, that's when it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And it got to the part of making a little bit more than what I was buying, and I was like, that's even cooler because I'm like trying to pay my house off sooner. I'm putting money
Yeah.
in savings. I'm just doing all this stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do before. So,
Right.
but going back to what you said before, like my wife asked me all the time on the weekend. She's like, "Why are you killing yourself and why are you stressing so hard?" She's like, "You don't have to do this every week." And I'm like, I have to do it every week.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to. I said, I've got to, I can't stop now. I said, put all this effort into it, all this work, and of course, subscriber stuff. I mean, even if you have 200,000 plus subscribers, you still ride waves. And Rob and I talk about it all the time. I release a video, it's number 10 out of 10. Release one the next week, it's 7 out of 10. Release one the next week, it's 2 out. You're always trying to reach that level where I can get a 1 through 4 or something, that's really popular.
Right.
But you try new stuff and it doesn't work and it puts you down. You try
Right.
existing stuff that you've done before and it's not working because people are getting bored with it. And it's like the challenge is it's just
Yeah.
overwhelming at times to try to figure out, what I can do other than give away money like Mr. Beast does, to make
Yeah.
get so many views.
$300,000.
Yeah.
It's like, how you're not making money if you're giving it all away. I mean,
I don't
what's the
get that
benefit?
either. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
understand how he's able to do that. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, you've got to remind yourself what you're doing it for. I mean, I went through that this week. I made an unboxing video. I never do that, but I was excited about a speaker. I posted it, and then I had like 2 people that were like, "Well, this is dumb," or whatever. And it bothered me. So I was like, "Yeah, okay. I guess I don't normally do that. I'll take the video down." But then I woke up the next morning and I thought, dude, it's my channel. Like, it's what I was excited about. So if I can't do it for me, then why am I even bothering? So
Yeah,
I
the
get-
way I always look at that is like, especially me, I feel like I'm a journeyman YouTuber because now I've been doing it 6 years and my growth is slow, but I know how to grow that channel if I want to. I
Yeah.
can do exactly what YouTube's telling me to do,
Yeah.
and I could grow it much faster. But I would have to make so much money from YouTube to go full-time YouTube that I do not see that happening.
Oh, never.
So
Yeah,
I
not
just
for me.
settled. I'm gonna balance it. I'm gonna do some stuff that the people want to see, and I'm gonna try to do 50-50. Like, I'm gonna do 50% the stuff I want to do, 50% the stuff people want to see, because I don't want to not show them stuff they want to see, but I
Right.
also want to do the stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
It's tough to balance.
It's
is.
really tough, and getting yourself caught in a, what do you call it, Rob? Caught in not a trap, but in a certain niche, like
Oh, yeah,
testing
yeah, you
amps
get
and
stuck
stuff.
in a niche, yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
if I do anything other than that now, people are like, well,
you just get
why haven't
pigeonholed.
you tested the Tar Amp Smart 5?
Yeah.
Why haven't you tested this Alfred blah blah blah? I'm like,
Yeah.
because I haven't wanted to. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
You got to do that. One for you, one for me. That's what somebody told me a while back. And I thought that was a
Yeah.
pretty good quote. Like, one for your
Yeah, that's
audience and then one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Especially it's not realistic. Like, it's a lot more realistic for Derek than it is for us. Well, congrats, you're over 12,000 subs now. You deserve 120,000.
Well, thank
But
you.
Yeah,
a
no
channel
doubt.
our size, it's like it's way more of a jump than it is for Derek, who, if he really wanted to focus on it, and there's so many other factors that would go into it, he could maybe
Yeah.
consider it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Rob and I've talked about it. I mean, there would be. I could make it work right now if I wanted to. This is the thing that I've tried to do for all these years. It's just like, when you work. for nothing for a law firm or whatever, trying to learn the ropes and understand how things work. I feel like a lot of these years that I've put in have just literally been a learning process about what I need to do and building up the audience and all that. But I'm at the point now where if something happened with a day job and it went away, it would be a challenge, but I could make it work.
You can make it work.
And I could also take on a different business model, which I don't do now, which is allow advertising and stuff like that.
Sponsored
Product
videos and
placement,
stuff.
Sponsored videos, things like that I don't do. But what I really need to work on, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like my Patreon has been very stagnant for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's my fault because I try to engage with them, but I'm not sure that I'm doing the best with the engagement and with the extras that they're kind of expecting.
Right.
Because I see some of the guys that have, you know, several 100,000 viewers, they have a whole lot of patron supporters,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making a lot of their monthly income through Patreon, and mine is a very small percentage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I can kind of speak on that a little bit, and I started my Patreon 2 months ago, and I was really, really hesitant to even do it because I hate feeling like I'm begging people for money. But at the same time, it's like, you know, if I've had people donate to me, you know, pretty decent sums, and I'm like, well, you know, if they're willing to do it, then it doesn't hurt to start one. And if they don't want to contribute, they don't have to contribute. But I'm also providing, you know, content for free. And if you see value in it and you want to help me out, then that's great. But yeah, it's always tough for me, you know, like I don't want to, it's hard when you're spending thousands of dollars on test equipment, you know, and it's like people are watching this stuff for free. Like if somebody's willing to donate $5 a month, then cool, go for it. You know? So that's what I just did. And then I don't know. I catch a couple new people every once in a while, but it's not, I don't know. I'm really weird about that stuff, man. It's tough.
Oh yeah, it is tough. But you know, the thing is, like, people in the audience are very generous, very supportive, and you don't want to feel like you're taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
And it's like you've already been so generous with whatever it may be, super chats, just watching, sharing and stuff like that. So I totally get it. It is like it's humbling that someone's willing to give you $5 a month, 10, $20 a month, whatever, just to support you.
Yeah, I always make sure that I, like, you know, if I get a PayPal donation, like I'll always make sure that I reach out and say, dude, I appreciate it. Like, I'm not taking this for granted because, you know, for me, it's hard spending $15 a month on Apple Music. So the fact that somebody's willing to donate $5 to me a month for, you know, what I'm doing, that's cool. You know, and I've got a job. It's not like I have to have the money, but it absolutely helps because, for example, I'm spending $400 this month on a set of speakers just for shipping. It's $200, $215 one way. So I'm paying that here and back to California with a lot of thousands of dollars of insurance. So that Patreon money will help me offset that cost, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's needed there.
Right. And if people knew how much money Derek spends monthly on this stuff, like, and I don't even know everything he buys, but I know like a lot of what he buys. And I was like, dude, this is some, like, Derek spent some money on this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're not even talking, like, for me, I spent $1,200 on 6 subwoofers because I'm going to do a 12-inch subwoofer shootout, and it's already ready to go. I've just got to make the video, but I spent that out of my own pocket because I didn't want to get stuff from anywhere else. If I'm going to be making these recommendations of the best one, I didn't want to look like it was influenced, although somebody did loan me one of theirs from a different company. But the ironic thing is one of the cheapest ones is the best one. So that's really interesting.
So what did you do with all those 10s that you tested before? Did you
I sold them locally.
Did you?
Sold them locally. Yeah, I try to get, and that's what
I want to see your home theater. You got them all stacked up in the corner.
That's what I'll do with these. When I've already sold one of them off because a friend of mine said, "Hey, what are you going to do with that sub?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to sell it." And he was like, "Well, I'll give you whatever this price for it." And I said, "Okay, done." You know, I said, it's not the winner. And he said, "Oh, I don't care." I was like, "Okay." So
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's cool because your first one of those, that video
that was the one I was like, this
that's an awesome video.
Yeah, but now I'm scared because I don't know how I'm going to meet that, like how I'm going to match that. You know, like I want to recreate the magic, but I've got to be realistic that it may just not go anywhere. But you know, at the end of the day, I've got a hair in my eye and it's driving me insane, guys. I'm telling you.
I thought it was a spider.
God, it's driving me nuts. Anyway, so we'll see where it goes, but Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Something about followers and people
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
you should pimp before we sign out. You should pimp your channel. What are you doing? Where should people go? I'll leave the link to your YouTube channel.
My
here.
channel is Aaron's Audio Corner. I do nude subwoofer testing. No, I'm just kidding.
There
I
you go.
do.
He
I
does-
do
he
a bunch
does
of
do.
speaker testing.
Bikini Lady.
Yeah, bikini lady. No, no, that's what I was going to say. I'm sorry, I forgot it, but now I remember what I was saying. We were talking about how to optimize your channel and get it to grow. Like I know there are certain videos that I have in the back of my mind that I know that if I did them, my subscriber count would just start blowing up.
Right.
But I don't want to do those videos because to me they're some of them are kind of cheesy.
Right.
And the other thing, like I know that if I made titles that says this is the best, then boom, my subscriber count's going to start. But to me, that's like clickbait stuff, and I don't like that stuff. And it makes it more important. Like I've got a Emotiva $250 pair of bookshelf little speakers that I think they're great, and I think they may be one of the best budget speakers. So when I go and make the title and say one of the best budget speakers, it actually means something.
Right.
It was an eyelash, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh yeah.
Good,
See,
man.
I'm weird about that stuff as well. Like I'm totally down to do clickbait titles. I'm totally down to clickbait them, but I won't do thumbnail with me going. Or
I hate thumbnails.
I
hate
won't do
making them.
that. Yeah, there's nothing against that, but like,
Sorry, I do those.
yeah, well, I know.
Hashtag they work.
and everybody
Apparently.
does them. But like, why do I draw the line there? Because I'll do clickbait titles.
Right.
Like, it makes no sense that I draw the line there, but it's just, I don't know.
I'm just lazy when it comes to the thumbnails. Like I don't want to deal with it.
Too, Aaron. It's just like by the time it's time for the thumbnail, I'm so done with the edit and everything. I'm like, oh, don't tell me. I swear, I got one more part I got to do.
Right. Yep.
It is exhausting, the whole process, and then just when you're ready to upload, I feel like that just release, and I'm like, oh, I still got to do the thumbnail.
Yep. That's the worst. And then sometimes you'll get lazy and let YouTube pick it, and then like the next day you'll be like, I can't do this. I've got to fix it.
No, I usually do my own, but yeah, because YouTube, I don't know what algorithm they use to pick it, but I have like hardly ever seen one of those that was worth a crap.
Yeah.
Like they'll pick like 3. I'm like, out of my video, that's the best 3 that you can pick. Why don't they let me do a slider like they do on Instagram and let me pick? And if that case, a lot of times I could pick out my own thumbnail, but it's like YouTube is just so.
Yeah.
Oh man, we could talk forever about things.
Oh
about YouTube.
Maybe one day we'll do a private one. You guys can give me some pointers.
Yeah,
You can give me some pointers, man.
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, man. I
Ramps and
appreciate you
ramps.
guys having me on to talk. I love this kind of stuff. So it's
My
fun.
wife said we would be on until midnight Eastern. It's 11:48. I said, "There's no way I'll be on that long."
No,
I
told my wife an hour.
It's like, dude, I knew this was gonna be a long one. I was like, all right, we're all nerds. We all like audio. We all like BMX. So I knew it was gonna go.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's once in a 35-year deal. So
Yeah.
might as well enjoy it.
That's
while we
right.
can.
That's right.
All right, good deal.
Yeah, Amps and Ramps, first
Yep.
official episode.
That's
with,
right.
With
Expect
third
more.
co-host. When we do another one, Aaron, you're gonna have to be the official co-host.
Yeah, I'll join you guys.
All
We can
right,
talk
man.
about YouTube.
Right.
All right.
Appreciate you being with us, Aaron.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right. You too.
Peace out.
Later.
Bye.
See ya.